Is this John?
This is he.
All right, well, let me do the official introduction. Ladies and gentlemen, we are very excited to welcome our featured guest for this evening. You remember him from shows like Family Affair and, of course, Sigmund and the Sea Monster. We're very excited to welcome Johnny Whitaker to the show. You're on the air with Terry and Tiffany. Welcome.
Well, thank you very much. It's fun to be with you guys.
I, of course, am very happy to have you on, John, but I'm even more excited for all your friends in the other room. So shout out to them. Wow. How you doing, John?
Yeah.
How you doing, John?
I am doing excellent, thank you. I have been working really hard. Just finished working for a year at Lancaster State Prison as not a guard, but as I worked as a counselor who helps the guys come out of prison back into real life.
Wow.
And just finished that gig about a month ago and took a little break, and it was a little difficult, a little scary every once in a while as you're coming. We go through 3 Sally ports, which are those gates that open and close, and you know you're not getting out easily.
Right.
3 of them before I got to my office.
Luckily, I can relate to you in the fact that I know what you're talking about, and even more luckily, I can relate to the fact that I wasn't incarcerated there, but I used to go to the doctor there. So, yes, I was on some assistance for a while, and their whole idea of sending you to a doctor was sending you into the prison, which was a little bit scary. It definitely is a very intimidating place.
That's crazy.
So I got to know, how many prisoners recognized you?
Well, actually, I mean, I have to, with the caveat that most of my fans are at least 40 or over.
Yeah.
So, you know, many of the gentlemen that I worked with at the prison, they were younger, but any that had been there for a while, and especially that were 40 or over, you know, they looked at me weird and thought, you know, I've seen that face somewhere before. And of course, in a prison situation, once somebody says one thing, everybody knows.
Right. Yeah.
So by the second or third day, as I came in, you know, I heard, "Hey, Jody, what's up? Hey, where's Sigmund?" So...
Well, one thing I must say, you know, on the other hand, you probably were very safe because the prisoners love people like you. I mean, they're not going to hurt you.
No, and I mean, Lancaster is a level 4 prison, which means not level 1, not level 2, not level 3, but level 4. The only other level above level 4 is death row.
Yeah.
Right.
So, you know, the gentlemen that were there were pretty serious offenders, but, you know, I've been living my life for the last 17, almost 18 years now. I'm a person in long-term recovery. I you know, was Jody on Family Affair, and then I was a good Mormon boy and served a mission for the Mormon Church to Portugal, and was there for 2 years. And when I came back, I got married to a beautiful young lady, and then 4 years after our marriage, she decided to divorce me to marry the man who gave me my bachelor party.
Oh. Whoa.
Anyway, so that sent me into a tailspin, and decided that I was going to try life on the other side.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's really rough for people to understand because in interviewing people that we do throughout life, especially adults that made their way into the business and are rather quite wealthy, that everybody thinks that people in showbiz don't have problems. I don't know how many problems you have when you're a kid compared to an adult, but people really get surprised that a lot of the entertainers, I'm not going to just pin it on kids, because adults do it too, that they do turn to drink or to drugs.
Well, it's the fact that I didn't as a child was just due to the fact that my parents and my upbringing were such that I didn't get a chance to. Plus my faith and my belief in God at that time, it was also just not something I would even think about. And I was offered a couple of times in my later years to do stuff, but I chose not to. But I call it my precipitous event, the event that kind of sent me into a tailspin. Because most people, just for you and your audience, 85% of the population don't have a problem with drugs or alcohol.
Yeah. They
can drink, they can smoke a joint here for or not for medical purposes.
Right.
They can do a whole lot, and it doesn't bother them. But if you have the disease like I do of addiction, then it sends you, once you have that substance that kind of turns you on, like myself, I really didn't do any heroin, but crack cocaine, that was my favorite thing to do.
Right. Well, let me ask you this, because I actually asked your dear, sweet TV sister, Kathy Garver. She's been on the show a few times. She loves you. She thinks you are her brother. How did the death of Anissa affect you? Was that something that kept you off at the time, or do you think it might have added somehow to you going into it?
Well, it scared me, of course. Her death was because of drugs and alcohol, specifically Quaaludes. And when she passed, it was that I was actually, my family and I had been asked to do the Johnny Whitaker show in the western United States, and we were going from city to city. We were up at the Teton Dam when it had burst in 1976. Mm-hmm. We were up there doing the show right after the dam, and we did a free public show for anybody who wanted to come. And they didn't have anything. They really didn't have a whole lot of electricity, but we had some generators running in the background so we could get our music and lights going. And then we went on to New Mexico, all throughout the western United States. And we were in Salt Lake City when I heard Rona Barrett say, Mary Anissa Jones, Buffy from Family Affair, died yesterday of drug and alcohol, causes. Oh, my goodness. I immediately called to the Family Affair Corporation, which is Don Pedersen Productions, and asked, if I could speak with Les Kaufman, who was our publicist for Family Affair. And, of course, this was 1976, many years, I guess our last 71, so it would have been 4 years, 5 years since, we had our last show, and they patched me into him at Anissa's mother's home and said, yes, it is true, and I, gave my condolences, and the family was so distraught that they weren't able to come to the phone.
Sure.
But Les, who was like a dad to them, was there and, caring for the family. But, it scared me, and I had, made up my mind I wasn't ever going to do drugs, But that wasn't the case when the precipitous event, which was my ex-wife divorcing me, just kind of was the Catalyst, I had dibbled and dabbled a little bit, but not a whole lot. And at that time, it was just the situation that took me over the. Being grown-up Mormon, I would have never tried any drugs or alcohol. But that precipitous event happening, there I was.
I like what you're doing. I like how you're standing up, and you've got all these events scheduled this month, because that is the one thing that you can really do for everybody, because you've been there and you know what it's like. And I know a lot of stars jumped on this bandwagon, old childhood star, and they did the Dickie Roberts thing at the end of the video and everything. And that's all fine if they want to do that. But I think it's better that you do what you do, and that is give education rather than entertainment. And
well, hey, I love entertaining. I am an entertainer. I love to perform, and last year I did To Kill a Mockingbird back in North Carolina. I'll always act. I love to act, and I act up every day. It's just that, I don't always get paid to act. But, when I'm teaching a group of, now I'm working at a DUI school. And that's lots of fun, because you have a whole lot of people who are in total denial that they have a problem.
Yes.
100%, it's 100% denial, and denial is not a river in Egypt. It is individuals who, I only had 5 beers and got in the car and got stopped.
Yeah.
And it's, come on, I took a breathalyzer and I was only 0.4, and 0.4 you can die.
They become the greatest. They become the greatest actors of all, because nobody can tell a fib like somebody's hiding something.
Absolutely.
Wow.
But
so with everything you've got going on this month now, what all do you have going on? I know you got stuff going on in August and also September. And
September is national, and we're trying to get it international. It's National Recovery Month. So there's lots of things that are going to be going on throughout all the communities in the U.S. to celebrate people and the recovery movement. And like myself, we're going to go to the Dodger Stadium, and the Dodgers have recovery night at Dodger Stadium, and that's going to be, I'm trying to find it right now, just a second. I forgot about that one. That's going to be on September 15th, the day before I leave for Portugal. We're going to have recovery night at Dodger Stadium. But before then, the day before the last day of this month, August 30th, myself and a group of other organizations are going to be celebrating International Overdose Awareness, which actually is on the 31st, which is Monday, but on the 30th, we will be celebrating International Overdose Awareness Day with a march, and we will be going to the Huntington Beach Pier and memorializing those that have passed due to overdose. If anybody's interested, they can email me, johnny@johnnywhitaker.com, and I'll be happy to give them information, what time and what, how it is. And if you can't make it but would like to have the name of a loved one or a friend be carried and remembered, then, send that also to me in an email, and we will walk for them as well.
That's wonderful.
And it's a day that we remember those that, didn't have to die. Currently, we do, there's a drug called naloxone, which you see in the movies where they shoot somebody with, that goes off in a heroin overdose or whatever, and it gives them, they think that it's adrenaline, but that's kind of movie making. It doesn't really do anything. but this drug called naloxone, which doesn't hurt any. If I shot myself up with naloxone, I just get a little stomachache. That doesn't really do anything, but it can save somebody's life if they are in an opiate overdose. And we were lucky enough last year and the year before to get some bills passed by the California state legislature, and there are some similar bills throughout the country. A good friend of mine, Julia Negron, who's Chuck Negron's ex-wife, down in Florida, just got Florida to pass similar bills, and that is to let naloxone be available, not over the counter, but with some education. And so anybody who has a family member who may have a problem, that they can have it handy and can save somebody from an overdose of heroin. But so that's what we've been working on for the last couple of years, and proud to say that that's something that is happening. And
well, that's a great thing to have. I mean, I can almost see that, like some people that has sugar diabetes, they have to take their adrenaline shots. You have to have that for some people. That's just great.
Well, and what happens, fortunately or unfortunately, depending on if you are with the individual who's going through, is they immediately go into withdrawal, which means that they really, really want to have the drug. So it's not, you've just got to be prepared and say, hey, you can't, right now if you do it, you can double overdose because you don't feel anything except the desire to use, and what I've just given you has reversed it, but it can come back twice as bad if you do it again.
Well, let me ask you, okay, I know this is absolutely the best thing to go and do, and as be with support groups such as those that you attend and the organizations you work with. What if there's somebody out there within the reach of my voice that hears this and they know they have a problem? Maybe they don't have a car, they can't drive. What can they do to get themselves off of whatever addiction they have? I mean, I don't know how you got yourself clean.
Well, the number one thing they need to do is admit that they have a problem. And there are lots of 12-step organizations, and I mean, everyone is familiar with Alcoholics Anonymous and Narcotics Anonymous and Cocaine Anonymous, and you can go online to any of those, AA.org or CA.org or NA.org, and find, they usually have meetings and online services that can help people, and they're 100% totally free. You can also Google, I have a problem with cocaine or heroin addiction, and you will get thousands of 800 numbers that you can call and get help immediately. Unfortunately, those that cost more money are the ones who, of course, have put up more money on their Google account so that they get first choice. So don't think that you're going to be able to get free treatment or supportive treatment that's, not there. If you are working and think that you might have a problem, go to your EAP. And by law in the United States of America, they cannot discuss anything with your supervisor or with your employer except that, hey, this person feels that they have a problem and we're going to help them with that problem. And you get some days off or a month off or whatever it takes, sometimes with pay, or, you'll get supportive funding by, whatever way that you can. But there's always help. There's always somebody, especially if you do go to a 12-step program. Any one of those organizations are ready, willing, and able to help get you the help that you need. I am a professional, and I attend those meetings. And, you go to a meeting and say, hey, I need somebody who can really help me. More than likely, there will be more than one or two people at a meeting that can help you and give you the direction that you need to go. But, of course, we don't do that during the meeting. Right. That would all happen after the meeting. But
well, you had said that it wasn't Anissa so much that made you do the drugs. What was it that got you off of the drugs? Was it your religion? I know you talked an awful lot about religion.
Well, it was my family. They had an intervention, and I, at the time, had 3 nephews that were almost 2, 3, and 4 years old, and they were my life. I, babysat them, and I took them to donuts every other day and ice cream, and I was, when I wasn't messing around and when I came to visit the family, they were my life, and they were the ones that I went to, the 3 amigos.
Yeah.
And my family had an intervention and said, you will never see these guys until you get clean and sober. And I said, that's not fair. They said, yes, it is. These are, young children, and they cannot or should not be around anybody who is doing drugs and could put them in any kind of a risk. And you have to understand that. And I understood where they were coming from. And, that kind of woke me up. I wasn't ready to get clean, but that kind of forced me to do so. And after a month and a half, 2 months, I realized I felt better than I had in a long time. In the next 2.5 years, I gained a whole lot of weight.
Haven't we all? We all done that. That's
yeah. But, almost 18 years later, I have, come out the other end and clean and sober.
Well, that's great. I want to know any advice you could give on families, because unfortunately the problem is it not only affects those that are high and those that are addicted, it really, really affects the family, especially the family that really cares. What can a family do? Can they go to these meetings too, or do they have their own meetings, or what do you suggest for families of addicted people?
Well, families, there is the Al-Anon, which is a great organization to help families of those who have drug or alcohol problems. There's Nar-Anon and also Co-Anon. Those are the 3 major family support groups that they have. Al-Anon, of course, more for alcoholics, but they deal with addicts, and the Nar-Anon for the NA, and Co-Anon for Cocaine Anonymous. But other support organizations there are as well that help the family. When and if you do get your family member into treatment, make sure that they do have whatever treatment organization that you're going to, that they have a family track, which is some kind of education and support for the family. I know at 2 of the different places that I have worked, they did have and insisted that the family have at least a half hour to 45 minutes of an education each time they came to visit the family member, because it's important that they understand and get the education about this disease, because it's so easy to have family members unthinkingly do or say something that can help trigger the individual to a relapse, which is not necessarily their fault, but you want to leave as many triggers out of the way as possible for a person who's newly in recovery.
Right. Wow, you said some very great things.
I wanted to ask really quick, John, when we had talked a couple of weeks ago, and you had mentioned again that you're getting ready to go to Portugal. You're also, I believe, working on a documentary that has to do with a problem with drugs in Portugal, correct?
Well, absolutely. What I am, and actually what did I say, the 15th is the 12th, I will be in September 12th. September's a big month for me. September 12th, I'm going to be in San Diego, and that afternoon we're going to have a Strut for Sobriety, which is a beautiful, wonderful fashion show and show put on by Gretchen Productions, and that's going to be at the San Diego someplace. Email me and I'll let you know. I forgot exactly.
And that's with the annual gala luncheon in San Diego, right?
Right. And they have that every year. And then the next, that's on Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday I'm going to the baseball game on the 15th, and the 16th I leave for Lisbon, Portugal. Actually, I'm going to spend a couple days in Asturias in Spain with a friend of mine while I'm making phone calls and getting some other things ready for Lisbon. But I fly into Lisbon on the 20th to go to the Lisbon Addictions 2015, which is an international conference on addiction. And there I'm going to be interviewing some of the speakers and preparing for my documentary, which is on the Portuguese drug model or drug policy of Portugal. What happens in Portugal is the first, second, and third times that they are contacted by the police or the mental health individuals, they have the choice of going into treatment instead of going into jail. And even if they choose jail, if they so choose, they can choose a much lesser sentence in jail, but any time that they are there, they can request to go into treatment. And the rate of HIV has gone down by 75% in the last 14 years. Drug-related crime has gone down in Portugal by 50% in the last 14 years.
Well, good.
Their prisons are not overcrowded like the California prisons that were at 175%, and that's why the state of California got fined and would not get funding by the federal government if they did not bring their, we have a failed drug war in the United States.
Yes, we do.
As much as I love Nancy Reagan and President Reagan and thinking that he did a wonderful job on many of the things he did, the biggest problem, actually it started with Nixon, with the drug war. And everybody thought that we have to be bad on drugs, but the only war was a war on human beings. There are more than 100,000 people in Mexico that have been murdered, sequestered, what's that word in English? Kidnapped.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
Secuestrado is the word in Spanish. They've been kidnapped, put in prison by the drug cartels, and murdered for stupid reasons because these guys don't have a conscience. They don't. All they want to do is make money and get money, and the easiest way is to sell it to the Americans because there's so many. And all we do in America is take this person with a drug or alcohol problem and throw them into jail and tell them, this is what you deserve. And we have created such a negative impact on society, and especially for the individuals who are more impoverished, and that's definitely the brown man and the black man who are overly saturated in prisons because, there was that's a way of, and we did that to the Jews, or
Mm-hmm.
we didn't, but the Germans,
Right.
to the Jews back in the 40s.
I really never thought, you're right. I never really thought of it that way.
We're getting rid of these people that we don't want anymore, and we're going to blame them. So the drug and all that is blamed on the black person, on the brown person. But, there's only 18% of blacks in America or something like that, close to it. And 80% of the prison is black or brown.
Mm-hmm. And this
So,
all goes hand in hand with your nonprofit organization, the mission of Paso por Paso, right?
Correct. Well, Paso por Paso, I started on my father's birthday. He was a Mormon missionary in Uruguay in the middle 50s. And I started it on his birthday because he taught me Spanish. I speak 5 languages fluently. English, pretty well. I speak English well, yes. I was going to say pretty good, but no, it has to be well. I speak English well, and then very fluent in Portuguese because I was a missionary there. And Spanish, I'm, pretty darn good in Spanish. And then I know sign language. You don't speak sign language, you sign language. And then French with a little bit of Italian. And then I always know, whenever I meet somebody with an accent, I say, well, how do you say hello, how are you in your language? And so if I can find my paper or my little notebook that I have on my computer, I can say hello, how are you in about 30 other languages.
There you go. Well, this is also great, and I do have to do one other thing, John, because, they would kill me if I didn't.
Well, I'm getting a lot of questions in from the audience.
Right, and that is, I know you speak all these languages. Do you speak sea monster? From the stories I've heard, it had to be crazy working with Billy Barty.
Billy Barty was a wonderful man. He was tons of fun. But the most crazy, how else can you put it but crazy, and fun was Rip Taylor.
Yes.
Yes.
Now we know he's. Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, and he's been on this show. Yeah, I would say that perfectly describes it. Wow.
Rip. The funny thing is he did play with us and all that, but he insisted that his dressing room be on another lot. No. But he had to take a little scooter to his dressing room.
Great.
But he's Billy was wonderful. Doing Sigmund and the Sea Monsters was lots of fun. Scott Colden, who continues to be a friend of mine today, is he's a father of, I believe, 6 kids, and I think he just got one off to college this year or last year, and we still keep in touch here and there. And
correct me if I'm wrong. I believe Billy Hayes was on your show too, right?
Well, Billy Hayes never was on Sigmund.
Oh, okay.
He was, of course, Witchy Poo,
right.
And she was on Lidsville and other Croft shows.
But you guys did get to work with Mary Wicks.
Mary Wicks, I absolutely adored Mary Wicks, and she was tons of fun. Mary taught me how to do a double take. And the funny thing is the year before, when I did the movie Tom Sawyer, we did 137 takes when Don Taylor, the director, was trying to get me to do a double take. There's a scene, if you remember the movie or whatever, where every time that Tom Sawyer comes home, Cousin Sidney has found a way to make him trip over something so that everybody knows that he comes in, even if it's late at night or whatever. He spikes the bed, or makes the books fall on whatever. And so this time it happens, and Aunt Polly comes up because they're having dinner, and Tom Sawyer is coming down and says, I should wash her mouth out with soap. He said, well, if you let me put some supper in first.
Wow. Taking me back.
So where were you? He says, well, I was walking across town, and I heard this scream and a yell for help from the top floor. Well, what could I do? Well, I had to run up there and see what was wrong, and what was wrong? Well, there she was. Lying stretched out on the floor, must have fell or something, with a bone sticking right out of her leg. And Polly sticking right out of her leg. Yeah, that was the Winter Douglas. And then what you do? Well, I had to run clear across town to pick up Doc Robinson. He's up there right now sewing up the poor Winter's stitches. Gee, 50 stitches? Yeah. But I sure worked up a whole big appetite doing all that running and chasing.
And you know, to have the moniker on you that you were the first one to give an on-screen kiss to Jodie Foster.
Yeah.
I mean, wow.
Absolutely. But it was right at that point where I said doing all the running and chasing that I see that Lucille Benson, which was the woman who played the part of the Winter Douglas, is eating lamb stew at our dinner table. Yeah. And so, right, the reason that I could remember those lines is because even 40 years later, I remember the lines because I had to do it 170 times. I gave Jodie Foster her first on-screen kiss, and and now she's gay.
Well, I let you mention that. I wasn't going to bring that up, but yes.
That was not my fault.
No, personally, it was not your fault.
Once you get the best from one side, you got to go to the other.
That's right. Nobody could top John Whitaker. That was it.
And there was even a Tiger Beat poll: who kisses better, Johnny Whitaker or Donny Osmond? And the next month, Donny Osmond won.
Oh.
And I said, now wait a minute. How could Donny Osmond win if I don't know who he's kissed? And, I mean, come on, we need to get a little... And anyway, so I did some research, and because he had a better publicist than I did, that's the only reason that he won. And so actually I had a friend of mine who kissed both of us and said that I actually won that.
There you go.
Well, I'm glad it wasn't because of bad decisions, because we had John Provost on, and he was talking about that Timmy was a little crazy and Timmy was a little stupid. Now, I know you were very smart in your character, except you wanted Uncle Bill to beat your butt because you didn't get beat enough, and you thought you weren't being shown love. That's a little crazy, Johnny.
Well, no, I was told that in the Family Affair episode there was that people it was an Irish family with 12 kids, and the dad beat all the kids and said that, my dad says that if you don't slap them around a little bit, it means you don't love them. So, yeah. So we did do that.
Brian Keith.
Now, I wanted to ask you what it was like, because this was one of the questions that we've been getting in from the audience, to ask what it was like working with both Brian Keith and Sebastian Cabot, because we had to tease Kathy Garver when she was on our show, because she let out the secret that when she was playing Sissy, she had a huge crush on Brian Keith. And so the teasing of her with that never ended. But what was it like for you, being so young, working with professionals like Brian and Sebastian?
Well, number one, Brian only worked for 3 out of the 9 months that we were filming. Oh. And the way that they did that is Don Feddersen Productions kind of set the bar high, because next door to Family Affair was My Three Sons with Fred McMurray. And Fred McMurray said that he did not want to work 9 months straight because he wanted to be able to do films and some other things.
Right.
And the only way that they were able to get him to do My Three Sons for as many years as he did was by giving him the option for doing all of his scenes for the whole season in 3 months, and then doing the other scenes that he wasn't in for the other 6 months. Now, what that meant was that the producers and writers had to have all of the season's scripts, or at least a majority of them, written before the next season. And, that's not an easy thing to do.
No.
So the writers were working extra hard to get all that done, and they did the same thing for Family Affair. So Brian Keith was only with us for 3 months, but we did all of his scenes of, 26 episodes. We did all of his scenes in the first 3 months. And so we were with Brian only 3 months out of the year, and Sebastian, of course, 9 months out of the year. And Brian was kind of like the uncle, the friendly, fun-loving guy that you look forward to coming and visiting and being there. We knew that he was the star, but he never really said or did anything that made us feel uncomfortable.
Okay.
Because, except, you don't touch the tube.
Okay.
We could play with him, we could jump on him, and he encouraged us to play with him, but when it came to the toupee, you stay well away from it. So you don't touch the tube.
I swear I'd be more afraid. I would be more afraid of Sebastian Cabot than I would the other guy.
And the thing was, Sebastian kind of knew, Sabby would play with us, but he always said, and we learned some really important lessons about acting. He said, we don't dilly-dally.
Yeah.
And this was not this was Sebastian. This was not Mr. French.
Right.
So the role was perfect for him. He said, children, we do not dilly-dally and play until we have our lines memorized and we are prepared. The actor always prepares. So whenever we wanted to play, we had to rehearse our lines first. Now, if ABC or CBS or some other radio or television station or newspaper was there, of course, Sebastian made sure to spend time with us and play with us.
Well, Sebastian...
And then the actor didn't give a damn.
So Sebastian needs to know that he's not the only one that did a Christmas classic. You've got to watch Johnny Whitaker in The Littlest Angel every year.
Absolutely.
Great show.
And the film, I mean, the amount of legends, and I will include you in that list, John, but John, as well as Fred Gwynn, Cab Calloway, E.G. Marshall, Tony Randall, Connie Stevens. Oh my goodness.
I had known everybody except Cab Calloway. I had no idea who he was because I wasn't a jazz or a big musician. But I had known who Tony Randall was. I really didn't know E.G. Marshall because he was a very serious and actor.
Right.
But Connie Stevens, I listened to her music and loved her and thought she was great. And the funny thing is, when we did The Littlest Angel, Joe Layton, who was the director, had us prepare and rehearse basically every scene for a month before because film or tape at that time a 90-minute show. Now, 90 minutes, you've heard of the what they call the 90-minute miracles,
right?
Which are the movies of the week became the 90-minute miracles, which they would in about 2.5 weeks. sometimes 3 weeks, but basically a week per half hour. And that was normal and customary.
Right.
But because the producers thought or didn't think, we did The Littlest Angel from beginning to end in less than 72 hours.
Oh my gosh.
3 days.
Oh
Meaning
my God.
each day we had to do a half hour of filming. So that's why we had rehearsed for the month before, so that we had our lines down, we knew how to dance, we knew how to sing, we were basically prepared, so it could be kind of like a teleplay, but could rehearse it over and over again. Well, Connie Stevens was 8 months pregnant with Jolie Fisher at the time. And we went up, you know, she was flying in the air, and every time she came down off the flyer, she threw up in a bucket.
Oh, my.
Oh, no.
And got back up, you know, smiled, put the makeup back on, and flying through the air. Well, we were doing this flying scene, and it was like 2 a.m. The state of New York had not yet created child labor laws like they are in Los Angeles. So we didn't have any child labor law things, but here it was 2 a.m. I'd been working since 9 that morning. I'd taken a couple of naps or, you know, whatever, lunch breaks and dinner breaks, but I was up on this flying apparatus with Connie Stevens at 2 a.m., and they said, we just need one more shot. And, you know, I looked over at Connie, and Connie said, well, if Johnny can do it, I can do it. And I looked at Connie, and I said, if Connie can do it, I can do it. So we did one more time, and then we were let off, and then it was like 2 in the morning. We had to be back at 10 the next morning.
Meanwhile,
you know,
he's concerned he's going to get thrown up on
right.
it. Just I would.
But that brings up a good point, because another question we've gotten from our audience, John, was they had said, could you ask John his opinion on appearing on children and things like that, appearing on reality shows like 19 Kids and Counting or Here Comes Honey Boo Boo, because I know that Paul Peterson has said he worries that many of them are ignoring the child labor laws.
Well, one of the organizations that Paul has started, Paul Peterson, is a minor consideration. And actually, if anybody's interested, next Sunday, or what is the 30th? Is that Saturday or Sunday?
It is, I believe, next Sunday.
It is.
Yes, next Sunday.
30th, we are having our first gala at the bowling alley there on Hollywood Boulevard and at the Lucky Strike.
Oh, yeah.
And a lot of us child actors are going to be there. And if you're interested, go to aminorcon.org for tickets. But you can go see many of your stars of yesteryear and last week and whatever, and especially the young people. And we're having a gala there, and I'll be there for a little bit, and you can bowl with me or other people and eat and have some fun. But just kind of enjoying ourselves. But Paul started this organization to make sure that children were protected.
Right.
I worked with him on the Young Performers Committee for Screen Actors Guild and AFTRA for about 12 years, and with that, we were able to finally, in the year 2000, we were able to get the updated Jackie Coogan law, which was the first of its kind in the United States back in the 40s,
yes.
which basically made it possible for anybody working on a series to have their money set aside, or a portion of their money to be set aside. So if you were in a series or in a long-term contract with a studio, you could get, your parents couldn't take you for all of your money. But what we did in 2000 is change the law so that any child working anywhere in the state of California would automatically have a minimum of 15% of their income put into a Coogan account,
Good.
giving that child at least 15% of their income, which was 10% more than their agent got,
Right.
and about the same as their publicist would have gotten, but they would have had at least that much, and parents could always add to it and put more in it. And just a funny anecdote that I realized when I was growing up and I did 4 Walt Disney films, I got on my first film $15,000 for 3 months of work, which, it's not too bad.
Right.
$5,000 a month at, 11 years old. But Disney Studios was giving 1-for-1 stock options.
Really? Wow.
And I had suggested to my mom and dad, I really didn't know what stocks were, but a friend of mine had told me a little bit, and he said, you should tell your parents what they're doing. My friend, of course, was 30 years old. And he said,
Wow.
you should, but I mean, it was all cool. I mean, it wasn't a friend, it was, but that's the way that child stars grow up,
Right.
is that our friends are older,
Fellow
they're
actors.
not the same age.
Yeah.
But anyway, and he had just said, Disney's giving away stock options. You buy one Disney stock, and you're working for them. Instead of getting all of your money, you tell Disney, look, give me this much of my check in Disney stock.
Mm-hmm.
Disney stock in 1971 was $1 a share.
Oh.
Now, I had suggested that we put $7,500, or half of my income from one of the Disney movies, into Disney stock.
Wow.
Therefore, they would match it, and I would have $15,000
In Disney stock.
or 15,000 shares
Right.
of Disney stock. Today, if I had never used it or whatever, that Disney stock would be worth $50 million.
Oh.
John.
Oh.
Oh.
I would be able to do my documentary very easily.
Yeah.
So I've got to know, John, before we let you go here, it's been so great talking to you. Sid Marty Krofft is still working, in a manner of speaking, and bringing out things. Has there been any word to you whatsoever about a revival of Sigmund that we would hope they would give you some kind of a decent cameo or something in?
Well, I've been in talks with Marty, and they are, Amazon has ordered some, a new series of Sigmund and the Sea Monster.
Okay, fantastic.
So it is definitely a go. They're supposed to start filming, I believe, in September. I have not heard what is or isn't happening exactly, but I guess I need to give Marty a call because we're already in August.
Yeah, we need to have all the fans listen to the show right now to send a very nice, polite letter to them.
Send emails and letters to Sid Marty Krofft Pictures in 4024 Radford Avenue, Studio City, California.
Yes.
And but just one thing before we go is on the 3rd and the 4th of October, I'm going to be in Washington, D.C. at the Fed Up rally and also at Face Addiction, the Unite to Face Addiction. So if any friends and others are going to be there, come up and see me.
Absolutely. And I wanted to mention again, the stuff that we've talked about over the past hour, the other events that's coming up. August 30th, you're going to be down at Huntington Beach Pier to celebrate the lives of those that have passed from overdose. And then, of course, September is National Recovery Month. September 12th, you have your Strut for Sobriety. And then September, I believe, 23rd and 25th, you're going to be going to the conference in Portugal, correct?
Correct.
You're busy. Did I miss anything?
Well, I actually realized that I linked it. The Strut for Sobriety is at the Hyatt La Jolla at Aventine, which is La Jolla Village Drive, San Diego, the Hyatt there. And that's going to start at 10 o'clock. And if you go to johnnywhitaker.com and click on any of the things that I'm doing, you should be able to see and join us at any of those places.
Perfect. John, I want to thank you so much for joining us on the air and
we
for chatting
want to help
candidly.
more too. Back
yeah,
we're very close to him.
We're very close to where you live. I won't say any more than that on the air. But if there's anything that we can come out and help with, we would love to do so.
Or have him here sometime.
Or have you come over here to do to talk about any other events that you have coming up.
Hey, well, I appreciate that, and thank you so much, and thank your fans and you can always. I'm on Facebook. Oh, you can become a Whitaker.
A Whitaker. I love it.
It's never too late. It's never too late.
Yeah, you can become a Whitaker, and that is by going to John Whitaker. Oh, dang it, what is my Whitaker? Anyway, but search for Johnny Whitaker or, let me see here, hold on just a second. If you go to contact on the Johnny Whitaker page, it'll have it there. But it's John Whitaker Jr.
Yeah.
I am at John Whitaker Jr.
Yes, yeah, at John Whitaker Jr. I was looking it up because we actually friended each other the other day.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right.
I had to. This man made my childhood fun. He made my childhood fun. You did. I really enjoyed all your work, and I just wish there was more shows like you had. I really do.
And I'll definitely let you know next time I'm around and have things to talk about.
All right.
This time of year, I'm always extremely busy because of Recovery Month.
Right.
And it's just a pleasure to be with you guys. And you know, my big thing is if you have a family member or a loved one who has a drug or alcohol problem, just tell them that you love them and that you're there for them and that you support them in the good things that they do. And most importantly, with a person who is in recovery or who has a problem with drugs or alcohol, the only thing they have to remember is to do the next right thing. They don't have to become perfect. They don't have to do everything right, but it's just do the next right thing, and things will start working out better for you.
Oh my God, that's just perfect. I want to say to you too, John, it's been a pleasure. Good luck to you. I know you're not going to need it because I know you're going to succeed at everything you try to do. And we kid about nobody before 35 years old, but there's a hell of a lot of people out there that love you, and we're all counting on you, John. We know you're going to make it through to the end when you don't have to worry about things taunting or daunting you.
Well, hey, there's a lot of negatives and positives about life.
Yes.
And I've made a lot of mistakes, and I've made a lot of great strides in my mistakes. And you know, the worst thing is not to learn from the stupid things that you do.
Right.
And that's what I've been able to do, and help other people to learn from their own mistakes, and make life it's a wonderful place. It's not always easy. Life can be filled with lots of negativity, but again, just doing the next right thing and being positive, life is a great place.
Absolutely. Well, we want to thank you so much for joining us, John. It's been such a pleasure, and I'll make sure that we keep in touch, and we'll talk to you again very soon.
Okay, and when I get my crowdfunding up and running, I'll come back and talk to you guys again.
Absolutely. You're welcome anytime.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thanks. Have a great weekend.
You too. Bye-bye.
All right, bye-bye.